I am a big fan of mini cameras and I loved the Insta360 Go. I got it pretty much as soon as I could get hold of it and have made countless videos showing how you can get the best out of it. But it's time for the Go to move over because now Insta360 have released the Go 2. And if you consider the Go to be the prototype market tester that was a heck of a lot of fun to use, then this is serious. And I mean serious GoPro alternative. And it's gonna blow your mind. Let's go. Let's start from the basics and what looks to me just like one of the many game-changing features of the new Go 2 system. And I do mean system because this is now completely revisioned with a ton of new functionality. Just like you had the Go camera and the case and the app working together with the original Go package, you get the same in the new Go 2, but this time it's so much more. And thanks to Insta360 who sent me this to check out for you. It may not look exactly like this by the time you get it, but I'm assured that the functionality is the same. Let me give you an overview of each of the components in the system one at a time. It's still tiny, really tiny compared to pretty much anything else you'll find out there. Whereas the original Go came in at just under 20 grams, which still blows my mind really, the Go 2 comes in at 26.5 grams. It's also slightly bigger in all dimensions, which has some implications for how you can use this with the accessories you might already have for your Go. Check out my upcoming video for more on that. But let me emphasize, it's still tiny and a lot more capable. Let me give you the headlines and pay attention because a lot has changed and all of it is good. In all of the reviews that I have done with the Go at 1 month, 6 months and after a year, my biggest problem was the button. Well, guess what? They fixed that. Instead of a rocker button that pivoted at the rear of the camera, it's now designed with a complete button at the front of the camera, which makes it much easier to figure out how many times you've pressed it and be definitely sure about what mode you've just triggered. And in my testing, I managed to shoot exactly what I thought I was shooting almost 100% of the time. In fact, it was 100% of the time. No more photos when I thought I was shooting video. I can't begin to tell you how much of a great fix this is. Here's another massive improvement. The Go 2 is now waterproof to 4 meters, whereas the previous Go was water resistant for up to 10 seconds. For me, this is a massive improvement and is really going to extend the range of uses you're going to have for this camera and also relieve any anxiety you might have about getting it wet. The battery life for the Go 2 has been increased by a whopping 50%, meaning you now get an average of 30 minutes video time. Charging times are about 23 minutes to get to 80% charged and 35 minutes to get to 100%. Oh, and that battery leakage problem where power seemed to disappear after a couple of days in the Go? Well, that seems to have been addressed too. In this camera I was testing, it held the charge very well indeed. And now instead of the 8GB storage on the camera in the Go, you get 32 gigabytes, 28 gigabytes of which is usable. The rest is for firmware and other stuff needed to make the camera work, but this is an incredible improvement. And this storage now means you can shoot for much longer, up to 30 minutes, which is phenomenal. But wait, there's more. Let me talk about the video specs. The resolution for video used in this camera is now 1440p recorded at H.264. Not only this, but it records at an incredible 80 Mbps, which is way more detail captured and encoded than the Go original, which recorded at 20 Mbps. This is really another class of camera entirely now, comparing what was an advanced proof of concept fun toy-like device with something that looks far more like a real tool for real video shooting. Now, I know that people like me have been wondering about this and hoping for 2K or even 4K resolution. Now, realistically speaking, that probably wasn't ever going to be possible. But speaking with Insta360, I've been told that they have focused so much on improving the quality of the video on the Go 2 that they have a much improved lens now on this, that they rate as higher quality than the lens used on the Insta360 1R 4K mod. Now my eyes pretty much popped when they told me that because I think that's incredible, and you'll also notice a very different look in the promotional videos of the Go 2 as well. Check out in my videos how these colors pop and how they're positioning the Go 2 possibly in the same place as the most recent GoPro. Now, staying on the lens, you get a lens cover now for the Go 2, which is tiny. It screws on with a tiny thread and is designed to protect your new Go 2 lens. Now, this got me thinking, would a screw thread lens protector that you can shoot with imply that they might have other uses for that screw thread? Well, here's more. The fact that the Go 2 now enables you to take far greater manual control of how you shoot the camera. It's no longer auto everything if you don't want it to be. You can now shoot video with manual shutter control from 1/8000 seconds to a slow 1/30th of a second. Now, if you can control shutter and then also control exposure, how are you going to do that with a fixed aperture f2.2 lens, which is what you get with the Go 2? Well, it's making me think that we may be seeing an ND filter coming out soon, which will enable you to control the light coming into the sensor with slower shutter speeds to enable capture of some real-life, realistic human eye motion blur, like you may be able to capture on some pretty sophisticated and costly cameras, all on this tiny device. So you can capture video in several modes, including basic stabilization, which is far from basic, it's actually super good, and the trademark Insta360 Flowstate stabilization. But there are also a couple of breakout changes that are now available that were not present in the original Go. First, there's now HDR mode. If you've seen my previous videos on this function with Insta360 cameras, you'll know how this is a really great mode when you've got lots of light and dark in the same scene that you're trying to capture on video. Essentially, it captures two video tracks and then blends them to bring out the best in your scene. And yes, I'll be making a special video about this, so be sure to check that out soon. There's now also an updated slow motion mode, which now records at an improved 120 frames per second and outputs at a full 1080p instead of the 720p of the Go. Combined with 80 Mbps capture, this is a vastly improved experience for slow motion, complete with basic stabilization that works well. Check out my upcoming video on this to find out more too. So now, as well as shutter control, you can now have exposure value control from -4 to +4. Although this isn't true aperture control, it does help you manage the amount of light in your video capture. You can also control white balance if you don't want auto mode from 2700 Kelvin in steps up to 7500 Kelvin. And you can also shoot with manual ISO from a base of 100 to 3200 in low light situations. Although that might start to look a little bit grainy. It'll be interesting to experiment with the Go 2 in low light conditions. So the 35mm equivalent focal length for the lens on the Go 2 is 11.24mm, which is considered to be an ultra wide field of view. But you now have more choice of field of view to choose for many of the functions on the Go 2, from that ultra wide to a narrower field of view called action camera to linear to narrow. That's 4 fields of view. You had 2 on the Go, and one of those was added later on. Now it looks like there is some distortion correction included in that too, so it's going to be interesting to use this in different conditions. Check out my video to look specifically at field of view modes in my special video on that coming up too. Wow, I'm actually going to be pretty busy, so make sure that you subscribe and make sure that this is your go-to channel for the Go 2. Oh, I kind of like that. Your go-to guy for the Go 2. That's me.
It's the money, it's the money.
The time-lapse function on the Go has also been upgraded. As well as the data capture rate and the improvement up to 1440p, the intervals possible to capture are now down to 0.5 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, and all the way up to 2-minute intervals between frame captures. This means that you can capture far greater ranges of shots in a time-lapse. From ultra smooth capture with short, sharp intervals with fast moving scenes such as clouds or waves, and captures over a long period of time with scenes that aren't changing much, such as an all-day capture taking 1 frame every 2 minutes. Time shifts, or moving hyperlapses, also now have an increased degree of control where you can specify the speed when you render it, just like the 1x2 and the 1R. Now, photos are a function that have been radically improved, where Insta360 have brought their amazing Pureshot technology that they developed on their 1x2 and 1R camera to the Go 2. When I first discovered this, I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. We now have enhanced Pureshot photos on the Insta360 Go 2. Granted, they aren't massive files in terms of resolution, but boy, they look good considering where they're coming from, and are a massive improvement on the Go, which was a backup option in case all else failed in terms of capturing an image, and really, I barely used it. Add to this, you can now capture DNG RAW files for really good post-capture editing potential. Again, just incredible really. Here's another massive improvement on the original case, which I already thought was good. Whereas the original case had a clear case that came off and was a little easy to lose, the new case has a nice solid hinged feature, which means it folds nicely into this clamshell. But here's the really clever stuff, and I'm going to make a video about the case all by itself soon because it deserves it. The case has been seen as a missing link between the Go 2 and the Go 2 app. This case has now been developed so you can access the majority of the features of the Go using the built-in screen, you can just see it there, and make selections built into the case itself. This means you can now use the Go 2 in its more complex modes without taking your phone out of your pocket at all. Just select the mode with the Go 2 in or out of the case mounted elsewhere, and that's all you need to do. This in itself is an incredible feature that lets you use your Go 2 in more ways with more freedom. Here's some other innovations. Let me start with Insta360 addressing one of my bigger issues with the Go after the button not working reliably. On the back of the case, there's now an LED light, just there. There, you can see it just shining now. This now replicates the behavior of the LED on the front of the Go 2. So you can now see when the Go 2 is capturing and recording where you can't see the front of the Go 2. This really is super helpful and solves a lot of the problems I had with the original Go. Also, check out this little tripod mount, screw mount here on the case too. This means you can shoot for the full time that the battery of the case and the Go battery combined will give you, which will be great for ultra long time lapses. Again, this is a fantastic innovation which just gives you more room for creativity with your Go 2. And more than that, just look at this built-in tiny tripod with these fold out prongs. Wait, there we go. For capturing selfie videos. Just perfect. And you can see here that the Go 2 is chargeable through USB-C, which is different from the micro USB connector from the original Go. Using the case, which is a very light 63.5 grams and feels very nice in your hand or pocket, adds another 2 hours to your shooting time. Let me repeat that, 2 hours. The case takes about 47 minutes to charge to 80%, and 65 minutes to get up to 100%. Just like with the Go, you get a selection of mounts, including the Iron Man magnetic mount like this, a hat clip, and this new universal mount too. You can also get a great GoPro adapter mount, which I think firmly signals how Insta360 sees this little camera. The sound catcher is still from there you see it there, from a single mic at the top of the camera, and you'll be pleased to know that there is a hole just there where the Go2 is in the case as well. The AI uses voice optimization algorithms to improve quality, and there's also a soundproofing option, a windproofing option rather, you can select via software too. Here's another massive development. You can now connect with the Go2 over Wi-Fi like Insta360's other flagship consumer cameras like the X2 and the One R. Just like them, you no longer have to download the footage to your app to edit it. Your Go2 can be sat happily in the closed case, and you can edit this footage and export without ever having to download it to your device, saving yourself precious space and time. This is another phenomenal improvement, and just remind yourself what a tiny system this is. You also now have live view of your Go2 too. You can see what you're going to shoot and as you're shooting it. Another massive innovation, especially if you're remotely mounting your Go2 somewhere else and you're keen to see what it's capturing. You do need to watch out for the Go2 getting pretty hot. I'm assured that this should still be okay when the Go2 is on its mount, but be aware that after using it, especially for a few minutes, you probably don't want to put this naked into your pocket or against your skin. It really does get pretty hot. Now, what I've been told is that this black strip here and the fact that the Go2 is slightly bigger helps the camera to dissipate its heat more easily than the smaller Go. But like I said, it does get hot, so be careful about that. What does the footage look like then? Here's a little selection of different kinds of footage to whet your appetite. And there's going to be more in-depth tutorial videos I'll be putting out over the next few weeks, just like I did for the Go. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss them. All right, let's roll the tape. I'm told this amazing package is going to be available for $299 US on release, which to me looks like a no-brainer if you're in the market for an action camera that lets your imagination take flight in so many different ways. And yes, I've got an affiliate link to buy it in my description and in the top video comment down below. So I haven't even covered the app yet, the improvements to Flash Cut AI editing, and how there's effectively now an FPV mode for those people who want to use it with those FPV drones, and the differences between basic stabilization and Flowstate. Spoiler alert though, they're both great. But lots more videos to come from me. I'm Sarb Johal, and I'm your go-to guide for the Go2. Please be sure to come back and check me out again soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and maybe throw me some applause and a like my way too. It really helps, you know. Thanks again, and laters in it.